Alright everyone, I hope you guys are doing well. We're going to get into the next part of our PHP and other natural disasters series. It's called logic. So we've learned a lot about data and how we store data in our programs, with variables and with the different types of variables, whether they're arrays or number types. We learned all that stuff. Very good to learn. And now we have to make decisions based on that stuff. So a program, if you want to look at it from the essence, is it takes in data, or it processes that data, makes decisions based on that data, and then outputs that data. And that's a very simplified version of what a program is in my mind. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new file, and we're going to call this file logic. So that's what I'm going to do right now. And logic is basically how your program, it's kind of like the brains of your program. Yeah, it's how your program will make decisions. And the first thing we're going to learn in our journey is the if statement. So in order to use the if statement, we're going to type it out. So we're going to type out if, and then we're going to type open parentheses, close parentheses, and we're just going to type true right in here. So if what's inside these parentheses equals true, echo this rocks. So what we should see is we should see this echoed out. So if what's inside of the parentheses, the result of that equals true, echo what's inside, not echo, but execute what's inside these two curly braces. So let's see if that happens. So what we're going to do is we're going to refresh the page, and you can just go to phptutorial.app/logic.php if you've been following along with the series. And you can see that we have right here this rocks. So indeed that does happen. Now if what's inside of the parentheses equals false, echo this does not rock. Basically what happens inside the parentheses, the curly braces will not echo out to the screen. So let's see. And indeed they don't. But if we change this to true and we change this to false, we can see what happens. This does not rock. Okay, so we kind of have that concept. What's inside of the parentheses, if it evaluates to true, execute. If it evaluates to false, do not execute. Awesome stuff. So what we're going to learn about it in the next few minutes are tests that evaluate to true or false. So to do that, we're going to create a variable. We're going to create Bob is walking. We're just going to create that. And that's going to be a Boolean variable that's going to equal true. And we're going to write an if statement based on that. If Bob is walking, and we're going to use the double equal sign. And I'm going to explain what this means in a second. I'm going to walk you through this. So we have our variable Bob is walking, which is a Boolean variable that equals true. So if what's here and here, so we have that. So what do two equal signs mean? Well, it means if this, Bob is walking, if what's on this side of the two equal signs and this side of the two equal signs are the same, evaluate to true. And let me just show you. So we're going to echo Bob is walking, double equal signs true. Actually, we're going to var dump that. just so that we can see it. Because you don't need an if statement to run the double equals. Not at all. So you can see it's a Boolean and it equals true. And let me just silence some of this stuff. So we're going to silence stuff by doing the multi-line comment. And that's pretty easy to do. So just go ahead and do that just so that you can focus on this. Okay. So basically the value of this equals true. So this statement will evaluate to either true or false. But if we change this to false, let's see what happens. False. So if what's on this side and this side are the same, evaluate this as true. Now I'm about to throw a what one of my favorite teachers calls a big word alert. So big word alert. What these things are called are operands. And this might be, so you might hear that term, but what they're really talking about is what's on either side of the double equal sign. What's being evaluated. Okay, big word alert over. So now if we run this, I'm going to go ahead and delete this. It kind of makes sense. This, Bob is walking, is true. That's the value. So does true equal true? Yes. Execute what's inside the curly braces. So let's go ahead and save that. And let's see what happens. Bob is walking. Makes sense. Okay, but let's say that we don't want to just test is Bob walking, but we want to test something else. Is Amy running? And we're going to set that equal to true. And we're going to then learn a new sort of thing. So we can test more than one thing in a if statement. So just bear with me. So we're going to have our normal Bob is walking, and we're going to set that equal to true. And we're going to learn the two ampersand sign. That means and. And we're going to say is Amy running, and we're going to set that equal to true. So what this means, in order for this to execute, what's inside of here? They go, and we're going to say the people working out. And let's go ahead and silence this just so we don't get confused. Both this and this have to be true. So that's what the ampersands, two ampersands on me. It means and. So Bob is walking has to be true, and Amy is running has to be true. If both those things are true, go ahead and execute what's inside the two curly braces right here. So this is pretty cool stuff. So let's go ahead and see what happens. And notice that happens. So now we're going to create another variable. We're going to say Joe is surfing. And we're going to set that variable to false. And we're going to silence this. So we're going to put this right under there. And we're going to learn another one. We learned the and. Now we're going to learn the or. So if Bob is walking, that equals true. Or Joe is surfing, if that equals true. Run what's in here. Echo Bob or Joe are working out. So the two pipes that we see right here mean or. So it means one of these two statements has to equal true for this to run. So will this run? Well, let's think about this. Is Bob walking? Does that equal true? Yes. The variable does equal true. So you don't even have to look at this. What's on this side? You already know this is going to run, regardless of whatever Joe equals. So let's just see if I'm right, and I am indeed correct. So that's the OR statement. Our next one that we're going to go over is the not true sign. So you can test for things are true, and you can test if things are not true. So we can say if Joe does not equal false. So if Joe is surfing does not equal true, echo Joe is not surfing. So let's see. What does Joe is surfing? What does that variable equal? That variable equals false. Does false not equal true? Yes. So echo Joe is not surfing. Let's go ahead and just undo that, and let's run this. And we can see Joe is not surfing. Very cool stuff. And that's the not equal symbol. I'm going to pause this video for a second, and I'll be back. So we learned about the not equals. So Joe is surfing equals false. So does false not equal true? And it indeed does not. So let's see what else we want to cover. We can also do this with strings, but before we do, I also wanted to show you that you don't just have to limit yourself to 2. You can also write something like this. See, oh yeah. So if any of these statements equals true, this whole thing will execute. So you can append ors, you can do ands, and you can make this. You can test as many things as you want in the if statement. So you don't have to just limit yourself to 2 or 3. You can do as many as you want. So echo, and we'll echo something. We'll just say that. I can't really think of anything clever to say. And I'll just silence this out just so that you see just the one thing. You can kind of see echo something, and I spelled something wrong. I'll just spell it right. There we go. Pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff. The next thing we're gonna go over in our journey is is evaluating strings. So I'll just show you that you can do that, and you can evaluate numbers. So let's have a string variable called name. We're going to set that equal to Noah, which is my name. You can set it equal to your name. And we can say if name equals Noah, echo, you can just echo name is Noah. Let's go ahead and silence all these. So this will equal true, so you can compare 2 strings. You can also use the not equal sign for the 2 strings, and this will echo nothing out, as you can see, like so. The other thing you can do is numbers. So you can say if 5 is greater than 3, you can echo out 5 is greater than 3. So if this, once again, if that evaluates to true, it will go. So we'll just echo that out. And let's just go ahead and silence this just so that we don't have to see it. So 5 is greater than 3. Pretty simple stuff. So you have the greater than. You also have the greater than equal sign. So you just append the equal sign to it to make it greater than or equal to. So is 3 greater than or equal to 3? And the answer is yes. So this will echo that out. You can also do the less than sign. So is 3 less than or equal to 3? And you guessed it, it is. And you can also do this, just the less than. So is 3 less than 3? Well, think about that. No. I'm going to go with no, and indeed that is true. So it's not equal, it doesn't execute what's inside there. So you can do numbers too, and these could be variables. So you might have an age variable, you might have a player life variable, you might have a lot of things come in. I mean, who knows, right? You might have, say you're building a calorie counter app, and the calorie counter, the user's limit is 2,400, and you might say if the calories are under 2,400, under less than or equal to 2,400, echo this out. So you can do that as well. So that's the if statement in a nutshell. In our next lesson, we're going to go over else, which is the other one, and we're going to go over else if. And that'll do it. So I'll see you in the next video.